so poor in her delivery that certain lawyers like Perry Mason or F. Lee Bailey, to talk about a real one, could have come in there and taken that case and maybe even won it.
But isn't that more of an issue, really? Isn't that more of an issue than the quality of the lawyers that the Kennedy had? I mean,
we're going to have to take a break right now. But as you said that, I had this thought: what if we evolved to the point, at least, where you could hire your own prosecutor if you're a victim? We'll be back in just a moment. We're going to take your phone call. Stay with us.
Ruby was able to just come into the Dallas police station and shot him. And the latest issue of Life magazine said that before Ruby died, he said the CIA injected cancer-causing cells in him. But Ruby shot Oswald, which conveniently eliminated him from having a trial, so you could have cross-examination. And with Ray, he was coerced, he said, to sign a guilty plea. He never had a trial. I do think that the Warren Commission said there was a lone assassin, but the 1978 House Assassinations Committee report said that there probably was a conspiracy with Kennedy, and later said that there probably was a conspiracy with Ray. So there definitely, if nothing else, there ought to be a trial with Ray, and there ought to be independent prosecutors that would come in and do a reopening of the Kennedy case. And why? Because if there were assassins loose that could kill people at inopportune times in history. I mean, if you go back to Kennedy, this was a time when there was only 100 advisors in Vietnam. This was a time when JFK was on the verge of making a deal with Castro. This whole anti-communist kind of thing was just forming. And JFK had promised to tear up the CIA in 1,000 pieces, and now the President of the United States was an ex-CIA person. Just showing you how great the power of the CIA has come back from the time of the Kennedy. And you know that Hoover hated Dr. King. He had a COINTEL program that was trying to prevent the rise of the Messiah.
You believe that.
Who, me believe?
Do you believe?
Of course, I think that anybody with a logical mind, I think only little bird brains believe that these were lone assassins wandering around the country killing people. I mean,
but the question is whether 25 years later, a trial is really going to be able to get at the truth just in principle, in general, with cold evidence, witnesses who've died, etc. And then in particular, if there was a conspiracy, is it going to be uncovered a quarter of a century later? I don't think so.
And two questions you have to ask yourself: how much of this is perhaps just a morbid fascination, and how much of it is good old American, let's make a buck because this issue will never die?
Well, precisely. I mean, if James Earl Ray had written a book saying, I did it and I did it alone, nobody would buy any copies of it. And of course, it's in any convict's self-serving interest to say, I didn't do this, or I wasn't, I was talked into this, I was a patsy.
Well,
so I'm not saying that there isn't some truth to that, but you also, the first thing that comes to mind when you hear somebody say that a killer says he didn't do the killing, well, of course they all say that.
Yeah, but see, the point is, I don't believe if it was just James Earl Ray's book. I mean, I very carefully said he substantiated other information that I do believe. Also, shortly before Oswald died, I mean, he could not get to the press. He could not get a trial, but he did say, "Oh, I'm a patsy," and that's on record.
Just that very statement you made, the fact that he did not have a trial, he could not get to the press, is enough to leave room for question, because no one ever really had the opportunity, other than the government, to question him, to hear his story, to find out what he said. So there is this big question mark that remains.
That's the least of it. I mean, there were in the Kennedy situation, there were about 50 people on the grassy knoll across from the book depository. who said they heard more than 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 shots. There was a Zapruder film that showed his head
Well,
going.
I'll tell you, put it
So I
this
mean,
way.
so there's a lot, and plus there were many witnesses that were mysteriously killed. Dorothy Kilgallen was on the way from seeing Ray, I understand, with some information, and she just happened to get drunk and fall off her balcony.
Well,
I mean,
if you want to hear more about this, Friday after next, I believe it is, Oliver Stone's movie on the Kennedy assassination is out. Right now, we want to hear from you. We have some callers on the line. Good evening. You have a question?
This is my belief. Had I been on the jury, I would have acquitted him, or would have found him innocent. I would have held out, because the young lady, she pretended to be in tears, and being a lady myself, and I'm sure Barbara agrees with me, when a lady cries, she doesn't just cry a few seconds and then.
Do you believe that part of this, that was part of the facade, or you don't?
Yes, I do. And
ask that of Barbara Reynolds, if I could.
Also, Neil.
I don't believe I can.
If you noticed, she never reached up one single time to dry her eyes or wipe her tears away or anything. Plus, she, usually when you cry, you're going to have to blow your nose.
Barbara wants to respond.
Yeah, I'd like to respond to you because using this emotion as a standard of whether a woman is telling the truth is a very dangerous standard. For example, Anita Hill was talked about badly because she didn't cry. So I think we have to get this crying thing out of there and just look at the facts.
We're going to have to hold you right there because we're just about out of time, but don't go away. We'll be right back.